Oh, my
All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. It is catchy, man. It's a good tune.
Oh,
like
man.
Milli Vanilli, they had some hits, man. They couldn't sing, but they had some hits. Whoever was putting that stuff together, they knew
No,
it too,
dude.
man.
Not that they could sing or couldn't sing. They weren't singing.
Right, they were
Wow.
lip syncing.
They were lip syncing. But hey, JP, you had to come off the top turnbuckle to start the show. We are in Atlanta Thrasher mode. We suck, and we're going to turn it around. There's people are getting it from all angles. I got people legit, serious people, doctors, people in offices who are literally coming off the top turnbuckle towards us. I'm like, you want to stick around for the ride? Go ahead. If not, go join Hayes and Brot.
I got to be honest. When is Luke coming on? Like 4:30?
He's on in half an hour. Yeah, Luke
Okay.
coming up in half an hour.
I feel like I'll wait to make, you guys always make statements. I feel like I should make a statement here. There's some concern in my voice. And you guys know I just kind of sit back and watch in between. This will be addressed towards Luke and O. I'm going to have, if you want, I'll make a slight statement, and then we all can react off of it.
I like that idea.
When Luke's around. Yeah,
if you want the floor, you will have the floor. I like that. You're an objective
Dude,
bystander.
just think about this. Think about this. We took the Dolphins in cold weather.
That's the Jaguars against the Bills pick we made earlier in the year. Same thing. When your head is in a blender and you are seeing ghosts, you start overthinking things. And I was watching it last night thinking the exact same thing. Remember, week 2 or week 3, we took the Jags at Buffalo and they get destroyed. And Al's brother and I could not pick a winner for the
I remember that because you said the Jags will be fighting for their life. And
exactly.
It's like, how dumb are you?
The worst pick, and I have to say that it was matched last night because there was no chance the Dolphins were winning and competing in that game last night. They looked so soft, so cold. Tua can't throw the ball down the field. That's just a dead fact. Everything was a quick slant, dinks and doinks out of the backfield. He cannot throw the ball down the field. So the Packers' defense and their lives were made much easier, and I thought Jordan Love played well last night. And we got another game going right now. So we're tracking Raiders, Chiefs, and Luke is coming up in half an hour. And there's a lot of people, it sounds like, that want to maybe help you guys out or possibly jumping off your bandwagon. You're basically pulling a Dak Prescott, right? When the Cowboys were falling apart and Dak said, if you want to jump off the bandwagon, go ahead.
Dude, last night,
That's who
if
you
you
are.
wanted any indication on who to select, just look at the Dolphins coach shaking with snot coming out of his nose on the sideline with his glasses.
Yeah.
I'm like, that guy, the whole team is soft, man.
I think that counts for something. I really think that matters.
Yeah, Andy Reid, honestly, his snot is different. It's like he welcomes it, and he has the big puffy coat, and he just you know what? It's snot. Who cares? The other guy, he's cringed up, and he's shaking, and I'm like, he's not serious, man. That guy's not a serious coach.
That's how his team played, though. He looked like a kid that got dropped off at a bus stop. And he was waiting for the bus, and he was sitting there shaking. When I was a kid in Edmonton, and it would be minus 30 out, and I had to take the bus, I stood there like that, just freezing my ass off and snot everywhere. That's how he looked last night. And he had a Scrabble look on his Scrabble face, too. That's the other thing. You add the Scrabble face in there. I don't know. I didn't like it.
That doesn't help. And I totally agree with you. I think you look at LaFleur last night. Matt LaFleur looks like $1 million. He's wearing a baseball hat. He says, Happy Thanksgiving after a sideline interview. And McDaniel's got a toque on, gloves. He's miserable.
Yeah.
He's miserable, and you can't win football games like that. And I think the image you put forth, it matters. And LaFleur looked like he grew up in Wisconsin. He looks like he is a Green Bay guy. And
Dude,
Jordan,
I got a ton of respect. I got a ton of respect for LaFleur, Hayes. If I'm your team, the Packers, I don't often say this, but I'd lock that guy up for just say you're the lifetime. It's an operation. It's organized. He had the balls to understand that Aaron Rodgers was going to probably win him a couple MVPs, and then he was like, let's get this guy the hell out. I just think that guy's the real deal. LaFleur, yes. I believe, is the real deal.
He's done a great job. He's a really, really smart coach, offensively minded coach. But much like McDaniel, only he's McDaniel's big brother. He's his cooler, tougher big brother. Yes. That has that program cooking right now. And we got some breaking news here in Toronto we should quickly address. that John Herdman has announced his resignation from Toronto FC.
What?
Effective immediately. Well, I think because of the drone stuff with the national team, right? He was the head coach of the women's national team and obviously then the men's national team. And I get the impression John effectively was responsible for
You want to talk about jumping off the ship? We just talked about it.
Well, the weird thing here is that, like, Toronto FC it's a private entity. You know, like you're not affiliated with the national team anymore. Now, I guess there's potential, and we'd have to see what the reporting is on maybe some of the international bodies or whatever, soccer bodies, maybe MLS, feeling like they have to do something to him, and that was coming. You know, that there was going to be some suspension or some penalty, and this is him basically saying, I got to get out, or MLSE allowing him to get out. You know, you announce your resignation before we have to fire you because something's coming here, and you know, Soccer Canada is breathing down our necks, and we're hosting the World Cup here, and our coach, you know, is the face of DroneGate, and, you know, Bev Priestman got let go a week ago, and maybe Herdman just knew it was coming, but he just took over the program. He just got there a year ago in Toronto FC and was supposed to be responsible for the turnaround, and he pulled a Matt Eberflus. He was out there at the end of the year talking about the rebuild, and he's sitting up there with Keith Pelly. And then a couple weeks later, the guy resigns, and he's out. John Herdman.
Dude, somebody went to him with the information saying, look, dude, like, we know. And you knew as soon as he said, I'm not sure about any of that stuff. It was like, you're screwed, pal. So somebody went to him with the information and said, you better fix this, resign, or we're gassing you because enough's enough.
I would think
100%.
so.
I would think behind the scenes, the lawyer said there's nothing, you know, this is what we need to do. And you either, you know, you leave diplomatically or we got to drag you through the mud on the way out. And to me, he's earned enough stripes and cachet to do it the right way. But, you know, you don't have all of that talk and then all of a sudden you've got to resign. Like, to me, something is coming or something's being handed down and he's getting in front of it. That's really what it is.
And he was asked to take part in some of the investigation, and he could never make it happen due to scheduling conflicts, which is always a bit of a guilty move. When, hey, we're wide open. We will come to you to have a chat. Can't do it. Just sorry, can't give you 5 minutes of my time. So I think John, he probably knew it was coming down the pipeline. I never really imagined it would get to a point where he would resign from Toronto FC. Again, because it'd be one thing if he was the national team's coach. Clearly he'd be out. But, man, you talk about a legacy here. Like John Herdman, with what he did with the women's program and then the men's program, he gets them back to the World Cup for the first time in 30 years. And a year and a half later, this guy's resigning and he's out and gone, and I'm guessing he'll leave North America and just be out of here. I don't know where he's going to go next.
And probably not anywhere around here. Did you not ever, and I don't want to kick a guy in the junk when he's down, did you never get a sense, and I kind of maybe I'm saying this after maybe talking to some different soccer people around the building, that everything with Herdman was a little bit too perfect? Like the hair, the comments, I don't know. There's just something about him. It seemed to be a little too good to be true.
He did come off as a guy. It was almost too good to be true.
Yes, it was like, are you really that perfect of a human being? Like, everything was the most. Like, every comment he came back to, every question we ever posed to him was like, wow, this guy's Mr. Amazing.
Very impressive guy to speak with. Very, very impressive.
And he may be an impressive, amazing person, which sounds like he is. But if he's in one, he's in one. If he made a mistake or if he knew about it, all of that type of stuff, like, the truth will come out eventually, and we're going to find out. It's unfortunate, but you're right. Like, he did look like the perfect package. And behind the curtain, maybe there is something
two things can be true, Jamie. Maybe he is just a hell of a guy, a hell of a coach, and he's highly competitive, and he got caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
And I think his argument, and many people in soccer's argument, would be everyone's doing it. It's just we got caught, right? It's corking bats where everyone's doing it, but I'm the one that got caught. And yet, you're the one that got caught. The whole program got caught. Technically, the women got caught, and that led to everything being exposed, because I get the impression that on the women's side, they were pretty quick to throw Herdman under the bus. Like, hey, we picked it up from over here, and now they've been doing it too. Don't forget about that. And everyone eventually had blood on their hands, and it's a pretty wild scene. And again, I can't believe it's gotten to this point for John Herdman, with considering what was possibly going to happen with this guy's career. Like, he was, I would argue, the most famous coach associated with Canadian soccer ever, because he's worked with both sides, the men and the women, and getting, both to the World Cup, and the women's program has been great for a long time, and what he did for the men's program. Then he had the opportunity to come in here, and who knows, maybe he would have been in Toronto for 15 years and been a Matt LaFleur type for Toronto FC and got them out of it. And like, he had the chance to be the face of soccer effectively and the voice of soccer, and now he's out due to resignation. And I'm curious where this goes and when we're going to hear from him next.
Well, resignation is the right way. Like, if something bad coming down, again, you want to, if you're MLSE, you don't want, like, if they know something's coming, they want him to step away with a classy, fire yourself instead of us having to really publicly
don't make it
drag
ugly
you
on the
through.
way out.
Exactly. So to me, that's the right way, but it also sends up a red flag that something is coming or going to be handed down. You don't just step away for, unless it's a personal situation again, which
right.
You got to
But
be
that
careful
doesn't
with that.
sound like what it is. I mean,
No.
Rick Westhead's reporting and others, I think that it's largely tied to the drone scenario and his I guess liability and all of that, or whatever role he's played in that. And it may be on top of other things. Listen, Toronto FC has been pretty bad for a while. There is a chance, he said, actually, I'm okay with leaving. This is going to be a tough rebuild. Like,
It might be the perfect out for him, man. Get me the hell out of here.
It might be. Like, I've bitten off more than I could chew here. This team is a mess. That is possible, because Pelly just said it a couple of weeks ago. Like, we are in full rebuild mode here with Toronto FC.
You know who we got to chat with? 5 or 6 beers and a couple of whiskeys.
Yeah,
Stevie
we
Caldwell.
should get Stevie on. We should get Stevie on and see what's up.
Something is obviously up, because we had Andy on, what was that, last week?
Yeah.
And Andy was talking about him and what he was doing, and that, like, this seemed to come out of left field. I mean, the people in the know probably knew about this for quite some time.
Absolutely.
But, Andy was raving about him, rightfully so, and to me, you look at this bigger picture. Now it just leads you to believe, like, okay, what is it? Like, now I'm curious, like, what's coming down, how much can be shared, all of that type of stuff. And again, like, drones, maybe I'm weird about this. Like, I don't know why. I kind of was like, that's a great idea. Like,
well, that's the whole thing that everyone says, more or less it's happening consistently in soccer. And what I want is, him walking in, video him walking into a Best Buy and coming out with a drone, or something. Like, if there's video that, like, hey, the Toronto Star.
Him playing with it right outside the store, get it seeing it works, going up in the air.
But
like, not to jump on
we'll
it
make
here,
it light of it. Yeah,
but that is like what is possibly coming. You talk about a TMZ role. Here's video of John.
No, if they get him testing out a drone in the store, you know how they have the low flying ones that catch go through. If you catch Herdman flying a drone in Best Buy, I will give you $1,000.
I think that video might be coming out, and then there's got to be investigative journalists. Rick Westhead's down there interviewing the guy from Best Buy. What did you see? What happened here?
Exactly.
Was that John that personally came in here? John Herdman has resigned as the head coach and effectively the guy that was running the whole show with Toronto FC. So now you got to rebuild that. Forget the whole program. You got to find whoever's going to run the program now. So there's another thing on the docket here for Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. But the Raptors are in Miami tonight. The Leafs are back in action tomorrow, and I guess Auston Matthews declared this afternoon, I'm back. I wouldn't say it was a Michael Jordan type of return, but he skated. He skated on a line with Willie and Matthew Nyes. Nyes looked good by all accounts. I think Nyes will return. Matthews will return. And it's go time tomorrow night in Tampa.
I think it's perfect timing, guys, for him to come back. Just after the last game, it was not the last straw, but it was like they got every ounce of energy and life out of those guys, where it was like Marner said it after the game, we're missing half our forwards, man. So it's time to reboot this thing, get everybody, and get Auston Matthews back on board. We talk about how impressive the record is on top of the Atlantic Division. That's basically without him.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah,
even when
like
he was playing, he wasn't 100%.
He wasn't 100%. He wasn't dominant. So what could it look like? And it's always the difficult thing, guys. We all know this. It's like when you're trucking and you're doing all the little things, when you get skill back, like you don't want it to look any different, but it's going to be because those guys are so much better. So you want everyone to jump on board and be on board with what was going on in the past, but you can never replicate it.
No, and what happened too, though, it's only natural, in the dressing room. It's like, okay, he's back. We could take a collective sigh. Like you defer to him, I think Edmonton went through that with McDavid coming back. You're just like, okay, now the big guy's back. Like now we're back on track where, it was workmanlike. And we've talked about like the analytics, the 5-on-5 goals are down, but they weren't giving up much 5-on-5. They were winning 2-1, that type of stuff. So the point being is, if they change their game, they go, hey, we're going to open it up, a little run and gun, because the big guy's back. That's something you've got to guard against because that wasn't the formula that gave you the success and gave you the points in his absence.
Absolutely.
Right?
Like you don't, sure you want to start scoring more 5-on-5, but not at the expense of giving up more 5-on-5.
Correct.
Because then it's just, net zero in the end. You haven't really added anything to your program. And I think that will be interesting to see how Auston hits the ground running because I think he's aware of the way he's played and the production, and it hasn't been there for him. And he's a proud guy, and I think he realizes, he still got 60 games here to put together a really good season. And I think I'm sure Auston would think him proving he's back is ripping home goals and being an offensive juggernaut. But he's got to also tie that with, puck retrievals and being physical at times and being defensively sound and playing a ton of minutes. There's different elements that come with it. This guy hasn't played in weeks. He's going to play a lot, and they're playing a lot of hockey over the next few weeks. Like up until the Christmas break, they play a lot of games because they've had an incredibly soft schedule. They have not played. They barely played. They played a lot of home games, and this guy's coming back, and Austin's coming back, and he's going to be expected to carry a lot of the load. That's just the reality, and I'm curious to see what he brings tomorrow. I would not be surprised if he hit the ground running. Like that is generally what this guy's done throughout his career. Like once you feel he's back, and if he's proving he's back, he is going to start ripping home goals and being dominant forces and have games where it's like there's 14 shot attempts and you can't stop them. And when that happens, if you marry that to the 5-on-5 physical game, all that, this team really could take another step, and that's saying something considering they're sitting atop the standings right now.
Yeah, and guys get different standards when they come back from injuries. Like Bobby McMahon, you could hear people say, well, he needs a few games to kind of get his footings and quotes like that. When you're a stud, you're just like, you got to be what you are. It's just a double standard. Immediately.
No, you don't wade your way back in. We have to retweet this thing. Did you see that? John Herdman leaving Toronto. He's on top of a drone. Have you seen that?
I saw it, and I had to mute my mic there for a bit because I can't do that.
I can't. It is the greatest.
John Herdman on a massive drone flying out of Toronto. There he goes. There goes John. Yeah, that's the footage, man.
That is the first tweet shown when FC is announcing him leaving. It says John Herdman leaving Toronto FC. It is tough. Like
flying around on a drone, man. It's tough.
I'd like to be like I'd like to know the behind the scenes stuff where, like, who kind of came up with that idea? Was it Herdman himself who just sat having beers one night and he said, "Let's get some drones flowing over the." And the other thing I have about it is, what is a drone going to do over a practice session that tape over a game can't do? That is what I've never been able to figure out. Why don't you just pre-scout like normal people do? Like, what is a drone over a practice going to show you that they don't do in a game? Unless there's specific planning for your team.
I would guess that's more what it is set plays, exactly. It's not a formation thing. It's not like Herdman or any other coach can't figure out, okay, they're running this formation, these players are going to play. They're aware of all that kind of stuff. I think it is more set pieces and how that team thinks they can attack you in a set piece. It's similar. Every sport's a little bit different in terms of scouting because, some sports are stops and starts and others aren't. Like hockey and basketball, it's free flowing. When the game's on, the game's on. There's, sure, you can have a couple of off a draw plays or a, inbounding play in the NBA or whatever. But with the NFL and soccer, it's so like stop and start. There's so many components to the game that are just off a set piece. I would assume that's largely what they're looking for. And to get back to your original question, obviously we don't have the answer to this, but I would assume I heard that these guys are doing it, and that team's doing it, and this team's doing it, and we're making light of it. The idea that John's actually doing this stuff. It wouldn't have been Herdman, just like it wouldn't have been Bev Priestman that's actually doing it. They're sending people out and getting the tape and reviewing it. And yet, when you're the head of the snake, if you're at the top, you're responsible. If it's your operation and you're allowing things to happen within the operation, you're responsible ultimately for them.
What you allow is what you promote. So
yeah, exactly. And that's what it comes down. And this was not a scenario where they were not aware of it. That I find impossible to believe. Like, how dare you not bring this to my attention? I think we all know the head coaches were well aware of what was going on. And it was just a matter of time before it all came out. And, unfortunately for John Herdman and Bev Priestman and now Toronto FC, they have to wait for the dust to settle before they move on.
I'm not going to make excuses, but it could have been something simple like their video guy going, hey, you know what, we've got this drone. I can get you footage of their practice. And he goes, yeah, okay, I'll take a look at it. Like, and it ends up like stuff like that, like people trying to think outside the box. And, it's unfortunate. But it's like Deflategate. It's like all these like weird things. You're looking for competitive edge. Everybody's trying to do it.
Exactly.
You got pinched on this one.
But how come no one at the top ever says, you know what, everyone was doing it, so I'm not going to, like, why do they pick and choose who gets their hand slapped? Like
that's what's aggravating. That's what's aggravating. And this is, I think, in large part, again, where I guess MLSC, a very, very, important public, massive sports conglomerate is thinking, well, we have a reputation at stake here. We can't allow. Or I'll bet you if Herdman worked for an independent owner, that owner would probably be like, "That's your problem, not mine." I'm cool with John. I hired him. I know what he's about. We're not gonna do that here. But bygones be bygones. He didn't hurt anyone. It wasn't anything physical or emotional or whatever. It was something that maybe shouldn't have happened, but everyone does it. The program got caught, so be it. I think where Herdman probably is in a tough spot here with Toronto FC is more about Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment and their reputation around the world in the sporting circles, where you're going to employ a guy that it's going to come out he was spearheading some sort of cheating operation. And I think the pressure eventually would have been on MLSC to move on from him. So that's probably my guess at what happened here.
It happens in all sports, and I'll bring it closer to, I'm not going to accuse anybody in the OHL. You guys know the O, but there's always been rumblings about certain teams. But I know in the Western Hockey League, and it's documented. Like, I think it was 2012, the Portland Winterhawks got pinched. They got pinched for, flying parents in and stuff. It was kind of like against, league policy. And I remember talking to people there, and they were like, everybody does it. Like, Portland, these guys are telling me, well, Moose Jaw gave their guys iPads for Christmas. That's technically a violation. Like, everybody's doing something. So that's why it'd be interesting to see, maybe 6 months from now, maybe a year, maybe longer, it'll come out that, every team had drones, or every team was doing something, and then they just happened to be pinched. Like the Winterhawks were always known as this big, deep money, a lot like London in the OHL, like deep money and a program that everybody wanted to be a part of. So everyone was lined up to kick them in the junk, and they got pinched. And, maybe Toronto FC, maybe Herdman, who knows? Maybe this is a scenario where these guys, they didn't like what was going on, so they got an opportunity to get a piece of them. I think that's it.
I think that's likely a part of it. I also think it just kept unraveling, and this is a scenario where it happened at the Olympic Games, which was really silly. It's not condoning the activity in general, but at the Olympic Games, when security is so heightened, You're in Paris for the Olympics, and you're flying drones around.
Well, wasn't there a report initially that getting caught doing that was jail time or something?
Yes, highly illegal activity when the whole world is in a massive metropolis. Like Paris, France said, don't bring anything like this into our airspaces or we're going to have a serious issue for obvious reasons.
Yes, they're worried about terrorist attacks.
Exactly.
And drones carry bombs and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And these guys are taking pictures and video of practice. So
exactly. Corner kicks and free kicks and ultimately it was the women's team that got caught, and then eventually it just became a whistleblowing scenario, and it's unraveled to this point where now John Herdman has resigned as the head coach of Toronto FC. Will Luke Wilson resign from Team O'Win Willson? We will get to that answer, and Noodles has a statement he wants to make, and we're tracking Raiders-Chiefs. It is currently 10-3 Chiefs. I believe they are charging late in the second half. Big spread, laying 12.5. I don't love where we're at personally. Hayes and Bro are on this pick. We're on Chiefs minus 12.5. But we'll see what happens, throughout the rest of this game. And we have more picks coming up. So we'll get Luke's take on the games yesterday afternoon and last night, what he's seeing today out of Chiefs and Raiders. We'll get to 3 picks for Sunday. Luke will explain himself, O will explain himself, and Noodles will have a statement to be made.
Yeah.
And best of all, Al's brother will be along for the ride. Al's brother will be along for the ride.
That guy today is going to be insufferable.
OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN Plus.
If you smell what the
O'Win Willson
is cooking.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Man, it's getting to a point here where
Yeah,
I'm having a tough time, man. I had someone stop me in the street this morning saying maybe you should play basketball spreads, start picking hockey games, because football just isn't for these guys, Noodles. They don't have the stomach for it. And
I'm telling you right now,
that's what's concerning, man, is they're pro athletes, but when it comes to gambling, man, they're dealing with a very dark place. And I don't know how to react anymore. I don't know what else to say. We're facing an immaculate week. We're halfway towards an immaculate week. Do you guys have anything to say for yourselves, O'Win Willson? You guys are awfully quiet over there.
I was just letting that nonsense continue. Are you done?
I'm finished.
First off, that story never happened.
Yes,
Secondly,
it did happen.
Never happened.
So, obviously yesterday, Partsy wasn't a good day. So I sat here, and I don't know if Doogie can pull up a picture of Rick Barry. You guys remember Rick Barry?
Legend.
Shot the granny shots, had the short shorts on. Pete Carroll used to say something all the time to us. He said one of his idols was Rick Barry. He said he read an article in Sports Illustrated about Rick Barry, and he said, at the end of the day, I'm a 60% shooter. So if I come out on a basketball night and I start 0 for 10, you know what's going through my head? Look out, because I'm about to catch fire. The reality of the situation here is we're 18-18, Partsy, which by our standards is not good. By all the Muppets out there and all of Al's bros' Twitter bot farm, it's a good year so far. But for us, it's not. I got to look myself in the mirror, and we got to chip away one game at a time. We're 6 down. We've got 5 games, including this one, which we might get a greasy backdoor cover in this one, and then look out.
Yeah.
So, Partsy, I understand it's bloody right now, but
that's why
I'm keeping
we
the faith.
are the pro athletes. That Rick Barry story, they can't dig into the archives and pull that one out.
They can.
We can.
They can.
We've talked to professional coaches.
Al's
Your
brother-
boy, I love it.
Al's
Your boy.
brother will have some card depot analogy that he will use in about 5 minutes that will come over the top on the Rick Barry story.
So the end of that Rick Barry story for Pete Carroll, which is always the classic part, is he said that when he was the D coordinator for the Niners, he got his first job back in the day in the NFL, he met Rick Barry at a Bay Area gala, if you will. And he asked him, was like, hey, I've had this article hanging on my wall. Did you really think I'm a 60% shooter? If I miss my first 10, look out? And he said Rick Barry looked at him and was like, I would never say that. Walked 10 feet and said, I'm a 62% shooter, bud. And then just left.
What a legend, man. What a legend.
that is a legend.
But Partsy, we got to keep the faith, man. It's not dead yet.
All right, Noodles,
I've
do you want
got
to
a
take the
statement
floor
here.
here? You have a statement to be made. Okay.
It's more of a statement, but I just need to say this because as much as former pro athlete, I do sympathize with Al's brother and Hayes, but I identify with you guys. I used to watch. Here's what I'm going to say. I identify with both sides. I used to watch this show called Pros vs. Joes.
Yes.
Okay?
Great show.
It was a great show. Do you know why? Because every time the pros won, they eventually would stand up and go, we're going to flex our muscle. And I'll never forget, there was an episode, Paul Coffey and Grant Fear, I think, were on it. And Paul Coffey was abusing this guy who thought he was a hockey player, and the guy was trying to curl and drag him. And Paul Coffey never threw a hit in his life. This guy, Paul Coffey, was running him through the boards and hacking and slashing him.
Okay.
And I remember thinking he did not want the Joe to have any oxygen to his life, like to think that he could be on the same ice surface as him. What I want to say to you guys is you're allowing the Joes to actually compete against the pros.
Totally.
And I need you guys got to get your head out of your ass and start battling a lot harder, because what you're doing is you're not battling like Paul Coffey and Grant Fear did.
Jamie,
what
it's
you're
gone
doing
the
is showing
opposite.
up.
They're making
You're
fun
right.
of us. The Joes
Yeah,
are making fun of us. It's completely
it's the
flipped.
same thing. It would be like Michael Jordan going out there and he's not trying. So the guy's just, YMCA, threes from everywhere.
Yes,
Or
watch
getting in-
today.
This is
When,
the speech.
when Al's brother leaves the show today, he's probably going to do the pro athlete salute to Hayes as a sign
do
of
this.
disrespect. As a sign of
We might take
disrespect.
that. We might take that.
TG
The
thing.
best
take
part
that.
about this whole thing for me is, like, I can tell as the lead has been growing, Al's brother will fire up more of his burner accounts, and they all say the same things. So, like, yesterday I get one, just nasty one from someone. I'm like, who is this guy? And all of the tweets are just political nonsense, and then it's just like, Luke and O-Dog are frauds. These guys are dummies. and then it's back to the political
There's some
realm.
wild stuff going on with our like the people that back us. I'm not saying they're necessarily stable, but we love them.
I just wish Al's bro tweeted all from himself. But
It might
Noodles,
be.
that was the Tim Tebow speech right there. And that
was,
just
to
turned
put
the
a-
tide. It
Yeah,
turned
to
the
put a
tide.
bow on top of it, it's been pros versus Joes, and the Joes have been winning. The Joes are,
But they
in
haven't
their
won
mind,
yet.
They feel like they can compete with you. They feel in their mind, like I guarantee you, there's probably a layer where Al's brother is laying in bed at one night going, I could have won a Super Bowl.
Definitely, he's thinking that.
Like where he's like, I could have played line for Seattle. I could,
he could be a nose tackle on that team.
Exactly. My
Two gap.
point is
Vince
you're
Wilfork,
giving them
100%.
oxygen
Two
and
Let me address this, okay? Let me address
Fair
this
enough,
because
right?
clearly you don't identify with us, and that's fine. You identify
I
as
do.
a pro athlete.
No,
that's
I-
fine.
I'm
we
trying
don't
to-
want you. I don't need you on our side. We don't need anybody. We don't want people
I'm
jumping on the
neutral.
bandwagon now
I'm
that we're
neutral.
red hot. Fine, be neutral all you want. But here's where the analogy gets flipped upside down. If we were playing the sport, we would be the Joes. But we're gambling on the sport. We're the pros. All right? We've been gambling. I ran a casino at one point in my lifetime. Al's brother's been on casinos where all they do is gamble for 24/7 for 7 days, and then he gets off blacking out, not even knowing what he just played. Let me use a famous
then maybe
quote for
you're
you.
the pros and they're the Joes.
That's what I'm
then.
saying.
Let me ask Hayes something, though. I
Go
got to
ahead.
ask.
Go ahead.
Because the beginning of the year, you said this. You got to own it. That the season didn't matter. It's all about the playoffs. I don't believe that. So
No,
does
it's not
this,
true. It's not accurate at
does-
all. I mean, that's
you didn't say that?
Oh,
I may
we'll get
I
the
may have
tape of
said
that.
that, but that's called head games.
So
all
right
That's
now,
called
what
head
I'm
games.
looking at is I'm sitting here, six back, lot of, like I said, 5 games this weekend. Doogie tried to jam us, which we'll get into this in a sec, O-Dog, but don't worry. My mind is clear this week, okay? And if we get Aiden O'Connell to greasy backdoor cover this thing somehow,
I'm
it's
worried
the
about it.
Undertaker waking up. And that's one's for Al's bro because he also loves his WWE wrestlers.
Yes, he does.
Coming out of the coffin. We got lots of time. You're talking to a back-to-back season winner over here. Rick Barry knows best.
All right.
I'm
Listen,
gonna
man.
sit
If
here
we get
and
this
just
Raiders
commit.
win, if we get this
Oh,
backdoor
it's bad.
cover, and there's a tweet where there's a guy in a pickup truck with a coffin, and a guy gets out of it and starts dancing, and I am going to be playing that immediately after this win.
All right. Well, listen.
Here he is.
My guy. There's my guy. One half of the hottest gambling duo on planet Earth right now. Al's brother. Looking good feeling good. The background is so elite.
Al's brother, I got to ask you, was us picking the Dolphins the dumbest pick of the year?
I told you that when you made the pick. I couldn't believe it. Tua in cold weather is literally just the most loser move you could possibly make. He's never won. He just can't do it. I have no idea what was going on through your head. Clearly,
you guys matched us earlier in the season, okay? You took Jacksonville at Buffalo. We equaled it last night.
Yes, you did.
Both were insane.
Yes, you did. Awful pick last night.
Partsy, this is why I still believe, I think it's a bit of a fluke here. Again, we're 18-18. They're 20-14-1. You watch that game from an analytical standpoint yesterday, and Al's brother's response is Tua was the problem. You thought Tua was the problem.
He cannot. He was efficient, Luke, but everything was a little like everything's out of the backfield.
The defense had been playing well. They got abused yesterday. It could have been worse. I mean, Jordan Love missed a couple bombs.
He played well, though, I thought, last night.
Very well.
I liked Love's game. What do you make, though, in all seriousness, before we get to the picks, of I think Josh Jacobs was saying it after the game. He's like, those boys, they look cold, man. And even there was a Dolphin player that came out and said we were soft. Like we played soft.
So there's a couple things here. First and foremost, Tua's stat line was 37 of 46 for 365, 2 touchdowns, no picks. I'm not sure how you're going to blame.
Lucky touchdown on the hill touchdown, but accurate.
Okay.
Stats are stats.
Right.
But
the man played well enough to win. The rest of the team, specifically the defense, was an abomination. Okay, but I digress. Secondly, you say Jordyn Brooks was in Seattle. It's like I get annoyed now with these guys, Micah Parsons, Barry, and Mike McCarthy. Pickens has been at fault. Even if you feel that way, why on earth would you say that to the media? Mm-hmm. Why? Technically speaking, they have a weak schedule coming up. They think there's winnable games. Do I think they'll make the playoffs? My answer is no. I think yesterday stamps them as officially fraudulent. But that's not their mindset. Their mindset's going to say, hey, take a couple wins here, win a few more, never know how the chips fall. Right? That's how it's going to be in that locker room. Why on earth would you tell a member of the media that we are soft? If you feel that way, call a players-only meeting like O-Dog and I did yesterday and air that grievance out.
Okay.
So
all right.
I don't know why guys are going through the media to talk and say these idiotic things that degrade their own teams. It's ridiculous.
It is silly.
Yeah, it is
all right, let's get to some picks here, all right? Let's throw you guys a lifeline. I think Doogie's put one on a platter for you. Chargers laying 1.5 against the Falcons in Atlanta, going across the country. Chargers minus 1.5 at Atlanta. O'Win Willson on the clock.
So I will easily take this game, but I'll tell you what happened here, O-Dog. Okay, what happened here is the pick should have been Vikings-Cardinals. You got two teams that are in the division hunt.
Hearts, that's the old us. That's complaining and being a
correct.
loser like
but,
these guys.
And this is why Dewey picked this
that
because
is correct.
Hayes greased him thinking that I would take Kirk Cousins because that's my guy. So Hayes pays Doogie. Doogie's in there with a Bills shirt on right now. I didn't even know that because that's a problem for me.
Yeah.
Okay, he is.
Okay.
And they think they're going to trick me, but once again, we had the closed-door meeting. We're taking the Chargers all day here, minus 1.5.
God, I love that.
We're taking the Chargers all day. They're traveling across the road. You look at last week, okay? Play the Ravens. Very tough game. It was drops. Drops buried him. Quentin Johnson, especially in that 3rd and 2, he catches that. He's probably still running. So I sit here. I think Harbaugh has turned this culture around. It's a playoff team, and I think they match up very, very well against a suspect Atlanta Falcons defense. I think they find a way to win this game, and I'm going with the Chargers.
All right. Locking in the Chargers.
How do you feel about that, O? Where are you at? Where's your head on that?
The Chargers scare me because I think the quarterback is just a choker and a loser. But I think the coach is going to drag him in the right direction, and I'll take it. I don't love it, but I'm taking it.
The Chargers will charge him, man. I try to tell you guys.
Yep.
There's certain teams you fade at this time of year, and they are a prime suspect.
Do I need to tell you a story about Rick Barry? I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
That's right. That's right, O-Dog.
Rick Barry never said that. That never was said by Rick Barry.
62%.
That I love. All right, AB, I guess here we go. We're getting points at home against the Chargers.
With Kirky in the 1 o'clock hour.
I love
I'll
it,
take that all day long.
I
Kirky
love
1
it.
p.m., baby.
Yeah, the ghosts are continuing to cause problems for these guys. All right, Ravens laying 3 at home against the Eagles. Toughest game of the year to pick. Naturally, it's ours, but we'll take it because we love it. We want a challenge. What is your tremendous information?
Yeah, this is the toughest game I think that possibly has ever been selected on this program. But
are you listening to this, O-Dog? It's ridiculous.
Every game
it's
they
true.
pick is
It's
the toughest
ridiculous.
game.
Continue.
You've got 2 top teams in the NFL going mano a mano, going in to take each other on. I believe that the Baltimore Ravens should be able to cover the number, though. We're laying 3 points. This is the toughest test for Philly. That's for certainty. They played absolute chumps during this winning streak. They've beaten the Rams, the Browns, the Giants, Dallas, Washington. Who have they beaten? Nobody good. Now they're going up against a team that actually knows how to stop the run. They can bottle up Saquon. If that happens, this team can't really get going offensively unless they're up. So I think that the Ravens will shut that down. They'll establish the run themselves. They should be able to win this game handily. Plus, Lamar Jackson against the NFC, 23-1 in his career. He owns that conference, and he'll do it again on Sunday.
Yeah, I think you look at the coaching matchup, too. I'll take Harbaugh at home over Sirianni all day.
Oh, yeah.
The Eagles are going to cruise to the NFC East now. They know that. I think, listen, they're probably thinking top seed, and I think that's a viable conversation right now. The Lions, with the injuries and the way that they've played at times recently, it may not be a foregone conclusion they win the NFC in terms of the top seed. But the NFC East is over. The AFC North is up for grabs. More important game for the Ravens, in my opinion. I'll lock that in, laying 3. I think it's a very tough game. Could go either way. Coin flip. We'll take the home team. We'll ride with Lamar. Ravens -3. Lock it in for Hayes and Brooks.
Flying with the flock.
Flying with the flock. Okay, the nightcap. Layup number 2, courtesy of Doogie McMahon, trying to make this a competition moving forward. Bills laying 6.5 at home against the Niners. O'Win Willson on the clock.
Partsy, so initial gut feeling here is Bills 6.5. That's the initial gut. However, there's a lot of factors here. Timeout now. O-Dog, hear me out.
Okay.
What would Rick Barry do?
No,
What would
timeout.
Rick Barry
First
do?
and foremost, it's supposed to be some sort of crazy blizzard. So in a game where there's 6 feet of snow or whatever it is, do I like giving up 7 points? Absolutely not. Are the Bills a super dominant run team? Physical, again, blizzard game. Do I love that? No, I do not love that. But the toughest part for me here is there's no reports that I've seen from Thanksgiving yesterday. Is Trent Williams playing? I do not know. Is Brock Purdy playing? We do not know. There's now reports that Fred Warner has a fractured ankle. Okay, so I'm sitting here, and I'll tell you exactly where I'm at. If Trent Williams is in this game and it's a blizzard, I would take the 6.5 and go with the Niners. If Trent Williams is not in this game and it's Brandon Allen, I am taking the Bills -6.5. So
What
it's
you doing,
Where
though?
are we at?
I
Where
mean,
we at?
it's the ultimate jam job. But to be honest with you, in a blizzard game, again, and I don't know if the weather's going to hold. I like taking the Niners. I think it'll be one of those games that could potentially be 9-3.
Oh, where are you at? Where are you at?
Oh,
Let's go Niners. Let's
there
go
it is.
Niners.
Oh,
Let's
there
go
it is.
Niners.
Parks, you gotta have stones. You gotta have stones.
gotta have stones to
That
You
might
gotta
be
have
worse than the
stones.
Dolphins pick.
No,
Did
it
you watch
isn't,
what happened
dude.
last night?
Dude, shut
Did you
your
watch what
mouth,
happened
else,
last
brother.
night?
The Niners, and first and foremost, this is how you know these guys are dummies. The Green Bay and Buffalo are 2 polar opposite offenses, including the bell cow, Josh
Not the
Jacobs
point,
versus
man.
Cook.
Dude, they didn't even know there was a
Tua
snowstorm.
and the Dolphins are not the 49ers, and the weather is complete. You're talking, what I'm reading is it's going to be a blizzard.
Yeah, 5 feet of snow.
Likely.
5 feet of snow.
Before the game.
Do you know who will
Before the game.
Before the game. Do you know who will still throw missiles through that weather?
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. Do you know who won't? I don't care if you go Purdy or the other guy. Purdy's got a shoulder issue. Purdy can't throw the ball down the field.
And he's got
Purdy-
small hands.
And he's exactly.
Listen,
he's got
boys,
cabbage
all
hands.
I'm telling you, I'm trying to watch.
cabbage hands.
It looks like
Yes.
the Raiders are in territory right now. At least, hopefully, we get a field goal out of this thing. I don't know what's
might.
going on.
All right. Well,
I think it's 5 tonight. I think it's 5 soon.
it could be. It could be, and that's fine. We're still feeling good going into the weekend. The picks are locked in. You guys are laying the point or taking the points. Niners on Sunday night. All right, boys.
Bills big. Bills
catch you
big,
guys
boys.
in the group
I
chat.
love it.
Al's brother, great seeing you, my friend. Great
Very concerned.
seeing you.
Likewise.
Noodles, You're officially out, man. You're with those
I'm
guys.
in the
Go give
middle.
a pro
I'm in the
athlete
middle.
salute. Go
I
give
go-
a pro
I do
athlete
salute.
salute.
I do the salute.
We don't
and
want
the-
you.
the
We don't want
TG.
you as a part of this crew. Luke Wilson.
RC Rick Barry,
House
I'll
brother.
never forget the story,
Rick Barry.
pal. Let's
Rick
go.
Barry.
Let's go.
I got a feeling it's going to be a good weekend. We'll see.
All right. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right. Mike Johnson coming up. Matthew Shinetti will join us on this news out of Toronto FC. John Herdman has resigned as the head coach of Toronto FC, tied to the drone scandal with the national program, and 1 year at the helm of Toronto FC, and he's out. So we'll see what Shinetti can tell us about this, whether what he's been hearing about it and what Toronto FC does now. You're into the offseason. This is a big program. You got to figure this out.
I got one question for Shinetti. How much of what did the drones mean to you success-wise? Was the drone stuff, was it worth a win? Was it worth two? Was all of it worth it?
Yeah.
It's a good question, man. It's a good question because, you don't want to taint the run to the World Cup at all either, right? That's a concern. How much was going on and what else was going on that, just magical run to the World Cup.
Yeah.
And Shinetti, I'm sure, will have those answers and more. So Matthew will join us. Mike Johnson coming up today. We got NHL games going on. We got NFL games going on. We got NBA games going on. It's Black Friday down in the States.
Dude, the
Hour
Rangers
2 coming up.
lost again.
Rangers
man.
lost again. You see
Yeah.
Zibanejad wide open in front to tie the game
Just
late.
They
rolls
lost to
off his
Philly,
stick.
man. Good job,
Yeah.
Drury, getting that nonsense
I watched
out.
the game.
Yeah.
I watched the game. Something's fishy there. That team's better than what they're showing. Something's weird. Something's not right there.
I
The
guess
water,
so. I think
the mix
that's
in the dressing room.
5 or 6 in a
something's not
row.
right.
Hour 2 coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.